Welcome to Santa Clarita Weekly, where we cover all things local in Santa Clarita Valley every Saturday morning at 9 on KQRU 107.9. Join hosts Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty as they uncover the latest news, events, sports highlights, and more, keeping you connected and engaged with what matters most in our hometown.
Welcome back to another edition of Santa Clarita Weekly with Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty. I'm Sage. He's Tim. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, and you can find us online at santaclaritastar.com. So we're going to be talking about a few things today. The first off, we'll be providing an update on the Chiquita Canyon Landfill. The landfill has been ordered to allow the South Coast Air Quality Management District to increase inspections and monitor more closely the pollution the landfill is creating in nearby neighborhoods. In sports, the Saugus High football team snapped an 11-game losing streak in the opening week, and Golden Valley and Castaic started the season on a winning note. The Rams traded linebacker Ernest Jones, who was on the Super Bowl winning team in 2022, to the Tennessee Titans just days before the season is set to start. And finally, we'll talk about the Dodgers. They're having a productive homestand, sweeping the Seattle Mariners and taking 2 of 3 games against the Tampa Rays. And Shohei Ohtani joined the exclusive 40-40 club, hitting his 40th home run and stealing his 40th base of the season. So let's start out and talk about the Chiquita Canyon Landfill. So we played a little bit of that. We talked a little bit about that the last episode, but there is another update now. So the Chiquita Canyon Landfill has been ordered by the South Coast Air Quality Management District to make changes to mitigate the pollution it is creating and spreading throughout the community. So part of the modifications include regular testing and analysis of landfill samples. There will be a collection of landfill surface samples 3 times per month. The public notification system warning when air quality standards are violated will be expanded, and there will be daily inspection and monitoring to prevent leachate leaks and tank overflows. So the orders are intended to suppress odors from the landfill and sample air quality surrounding the landfill. The new orders came after a series of hearings hosted by the South Coast AQMD. The first was at the Performing Arts Center at College of the Canyons, followed by 2 at the South Coast AQMD headquarters in Diamond Bar. So during those hearings, the lawyers for the landfill resisted allowing for additional monitoring. So the landfill operators have been saying that the odors are a result of rising temperatures from the landfill and a chemical reaction that has been difficult to control. So the South Coast AQMD has received more than 15,000 complaints about the odors from the landfill since January of 2023. And the air quality regulators are expected to make additional adjustments, including possibly pausing operations in the morning at the landfill. At its next meeting is in November. You are listening to KQRU 107.9 in Santa Clarita. You can listen to Santa Clarita Weekly on Saturday mornings at 9 and on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you listen to podcasts.
So we're going to talk about the start of the high school football season, the start of the Foothill League football season. Saugus, Golden Valley, and Castaic started the season on winning notes. The Saugus football team rallied in the fourth quarter and beat Buena on the road in the opening week of the season. Saugus was down 10 points in the fourth quarter and scored 2 touchdowns to take the lead and win 38-34. It was the first win for Saugus in nearly 2 years and snapped an 11-game losing streak, including in the first round of the CIF playoffs to Milliken in 2022. Saugus quarterback Jake Nuttall threw 2 touchdown passes. One was an 82-yarder to Landon Lattimore. The other was a 47-yard TD pass to Matt Long. And Kahani Ortega added a rushing touchdown for Saugus. Saugus led 17-6 at halftime, but Buena scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter to take a 20-13 lead. Buena was up 34-24 entering the fourth quarter, but Saugus scored 2 touchdowns to take the lead and win the game. Saugus coach Jason Bourne talked to us about how his team rallied in the fourth quarter and won their first game of the season.
So I'm here with Saugus High coach Jason Bourne. His team won their first game of the season against Buena. I wanted to ask him about how he thought his team played and how his team won the game. They had to come from behind in the fourth quarter to win the game. You tell me, how did you think your kids played, and how are they responding to winning their first game of the season?
Well, I mean, I thought the kids played extremely dedicated and committed football. I mean, they never quit. They stayed in the fight in the entire game, and we had a little bit of everything in that game, from trick plays to onside kicks to fake field goals to long touchdowns to you name it. I mean, we covered an entire season worth of events in one game, but it was definitely a challenge, and it was rewarding for us to come out on top.
So the way you won the game, you were down by 10 points in the fourth quarter and had to rally, score 2 touchdowns. Tell me who came up big for you in that fourth quarter, and who were you most impressed with in that last part of the game?
Well, I mean, it's a collective effort. So there's a lot of guys that really stepped up and performed. I mean, obviously our offensive line did a great job of protecting for our quarterback, and he was able to make some throws and completions. Defensively, came up big at the end of the game with a sack and an interception to close the game out. So it was just a collective effort. It wasn't any one individual that stood out.
Okay. So and tell me this, how important is it for the team to win their first game of the season? How does it set the tone for the rest of the season?
I mean, I think it helps. I don't think it's mission critical, but it definitely is nice to get that win under your belt. It's definitely nicer when it happened in the manner that it did, in that it was a battle. We had to earn every point that we got that night, and it definitely creates a sense of excitement in the community and for our school and our campus. So like I said, it's not mission critical, but it's nice when we get it.
Okay. And then your next game is against Oak Park, and it's your home opener. Tell me how your team is preparing for that game, and are you excited about having a win already under your belt going into your home opener?
Well, I mean, first of all, every week we look at it like it's 0-0. Like, we don't have any wins, we don't have any losses. That's always been our approach. We don't worry about what's happened in the past. We learn and grow from what we experienced, but as far as wins and losses, it's always 0-0. Every week's a playoff game, single elimination. That's the way we approach it. Oak Park's a very talented football team. They played a very, very talented Agoura team and came up short, but we're expecting them to bounce back and to be really prepared and competitive for us on Friday night.
Right. Next up for Saugus is Oak Park at home. They play a game at College of the Canyon. The Castaic High football team won in convincing fashion over Adelanto 45-7. Castaic receiver Logan Meitzner caught 6 passes for 167 yards and scored a touchdown. Vincent Davalos caught a 50-yard touchdown pass for Castaic. And next up for Castaic is Calabasas on the road. The Golden Valley football team beat Westlake 19-14 and won its season opener. Golden Valley never trailed in the game, but Westlake kept it close throughout. Golden Valley running back Jamison Torres scored 2 touchdowns. Anthony Saragusa added another rushing touchdown, and Golden Valley held on to win its first game of the season. Next up for Golden Valley is Antelope Valley. The Valencia football team had Simi Valley on the ropes, but couldn't deliver the knockout blow. Valencia lost its season opener 49-41 on the road. Valencia running back Brian Bonner had a big game, scoring 3 touchdowns. Quarterback Brady Bretthauer threw a touchdown pass and scored on a TD run for Valencia. Wide receiver Elias Willis caught the touchdown pass from Bretthauer. Valencia came up a little short against one of the best teams in Southern California. Next up for Valencia, Santa Barbara. The Hart football team lost a close one to visiting Quartz Hill at College of the Canyons 21-13. Hart took a 13-7 lead in the third quarter when quarterback Jacob Paisano hit tight end Oliver Welch with a touchdown pass. But Quartz Hill scored 2 touchdowns late in the second half to take the lead and win the game. Paisano scored the first touchdown for Hart on a running play. Hart plays Burroughs and Burbank next. The Canyon High football team had its hands full against Charter Oak, losing 44-6. Keston Bano scored the only touchdown for Canyon, and Charter Oak led 37-6 at halftime. Canyon will look to rebound at home against Buena, which lost to Saugus in the season opener. The West Ranch football team had a tough opener against Pacifica, losing 42-6. Pacifica quarterback Dominic Durant threw 6 touchdown passes. He finished with 400 yards passing. West Ranch defensive end Max Piccolino had 4.5 sacks. Running back Luke DePerno scored the lone touchdown for West Ranch. Next up for West Ranch is Cleveland High and Reseda.
All right. So, Tim, I have some questions for you. So, let's talk about the outlook for the season for Saugus. How does this win set the tone for the rest of Saugus's season?
Well, I don't know about the rest of the season, and Coach Jason Bourne said that as much. He doesn't like looking too far ahead, or doesn't even like looking past the next game for his team. So he is not putting a whole lot of importance on winning the first game of the season. I mean, it's nice. It's good to get the first win of the season in the first game. And his team looked good. His team looked good against Buena. If anything, they showed that they don't quit. They don't quit. So this team is going to be tough to beat because they have a lot of fight in them. But they also showed that they can be their worst enemy at times, because they can get behind, they can lose focus for a play or two, and it almost cost them in this game. But luckily, fortunately, they won. They beat Buena, and they're off to a great start.
All right. So, what are the reasons behind Castaic's impressive victory over Adelanto?
Yeah, I don't know if you can put a whole lot of stock into Castaic's win over Adelanto. I mean, it was great. They scored a ton of points. It looked like they were having a good time on offense. Everything was working. Everything was clicking. I don't know how competitive Adelanto is. They're always a gritty team. They always have a lot of, what's the right word for it? They have a lot of tough players, but they don't have a whole lot of skill. And that's always been Adelanto's big setback, big problem is they may be big and strong, but they don't have a lot of skill players to score a lot of points and make a lot of big plays. So it was a great win for Castaic. Great win for Castaic. I mean, scoring 45 points in a game is always a good sign, and it looks like the offense is going to be able to score a lot of points when playing the right opponent. So good win for Castaic, but I really don't know how impressive it is to clobber Adelanto.
So, how did Golden Valley maintain its lead throughout the game against Westlake?
So this was a very interesting game, because Golden Valley led the entire game, but this was a very close game, and they were two evenly matched teams. Golden Valley, like I said, they were able to get the lead early. They held the lead, and they really didn't give Westlake a whole lot of hope to win this game. Still, Westlake never went away. They kept giving Golden Valley everything that it could handle. So good win for Golden Valley. Good win that they could get the lead, keep the lead, and hold the team at bay for the whole game like they did.
Yeah, so Golden Valley is going to be going up against Antelope Valley. So how do you see Golden Valley's matchup against Antelope Valley going?
Yeah, Antelope Valley traditionally has good teams. They've always been a good program. I don't know how good this Antelope Valley team is. I'm imagining that it's going to be extremely competitive. It's going to be a little tougher. It's going to be a little tougher game for Golden Valley this week. So they'll be tested, and it'll be a good game for them. They'll be able to level up, as the kids say, and play a team that is going to give them, it's going to test them a little more than they were tested last week.
So what were the main factors that prevented Valencia from securing the win against Simi Valley? Because it was a pretty close loss, correct?
No, it was a shootout. I mean, both teams, Valencia and Simi Valley, have very high-powered offenses, and the bottom line is Simi Valley is a better team. Simi Valley is a very good team. There is no shame in losing to Simi Valley this year. They're going to be one of the top teams in Southern California, maybe one of the top teams in the state. So if Valencia was able to keep pace with them, Brian Bonner looked incredible. Brian Bonner is already showing that his speed is going to be a test, is going to be a challenge for any team that plays against Valencia. So yeah, they might have lost this game, and it's never a good way to start the season with a loss. But losing to this Simi Valley team was, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to be ashamed about losing to the Simi Valley team. The Simi Valley's a good team, and Valencia showed that given another chance, they might be able to beat the Simi Valley team.
So what are the challenges that Hart can expect to face against the Burros?
Yeah, Burrows is probably going to be an easy win for Hart. Burrows is never a very good team, even back back years and years ago. And Hart had a tough home opener. Quartz Hill is not an easy team to beat. They're a proud program. They are the reigning Golden League champions. They were a playoff team last year, and they always have a good team. So I know it was a tough loss. Hart had the lead in this game, and they kind of let it slip through their fingers late in the second half. But it'll be good for them to rebound against Burrows. So I have a feeling that they're going to have an easy time in their next game against Burrows.
So how important is it for Canyon to win against Buena to regain momentum? I mean, do they have a bounce back opportunity here?
I think so. I think I don't think Buena is a great team. They were a good team, and they were able to give Saugus a very competitive game. But the other side of it too is that Canyon played a very, very tough Charter Oak team to open the season, and they won't have that same level of competition staring at them in this game. So yeah, I think Buena is going to get its fill of the Foothill League after the first two games of the season, and I do have a feeling that Canyon can rebound and take care of Buena pretty easily in this game.
So I want to ask you about West Ranch and Cleveland High. So what kind of challenges can West Ranch expect to face against Cleveland High?
Yeah, this is another good game for West Ranch. It's coming off of the season opener against Pacifica, which Pacifica is a great team too. West Ranch needs a game against a team like Cleveland, and nothing against Cleveland. They're a city section team. It's a totally different animal in the city section. The teams in the city section are not as deep. They're not as talented, and they're a lot of times they're just not at the same level as the Southern Section teams, especially teams from the Foothill League. So it's a good game. It's a good bounce back game for West Ranch to have against Cleveland, and I think West Ranch is going to be looking forward to playing Cleveland, even if it's on the road, and getting a chance to win their first game of the season.
All right, so Tim, I know you have some more information about the Rams, because I think we're going to switch to the NFL now. Continue talking about football, but talk about the NFL. So can you give us an update on what's going on with the Los Angeles Rams?
Okay, so the NFL season starts this week, and the Rams will be playing the Detroit Lions in their first game of the season. And so they had their last preseason game, and after the game against the Texans, the Rams had to cut down their roster to 53 players. That's the roster max for NFL teams. And so the Rams made a ton of cuts. They cut 10 players off of their roster to get down to that 53 player level. One of the cuts that the Rams made was to running back Boston Scott. And Boston Scott, he was a veteran running back. He played for a bunch of different teams, and I thought he might have had a chance to make this team, but the Rams are very deep at running back. They have second-year running back Kyron Williams and rookie Blake Corum on the roster, with Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans as backups. So the Rams are deep at running back and deep at all the skill positions. In a bit of a surprise development, the Rams traded linebacker Ernest Jones to the Tennessee Titans days before the first game of the season. Jones was in the last year of his contract with the Rams and was seeking a new deal, but Jones and the team did not reach an agreement on a new contract as the start of the season approached. Jones was expected to be the leader of the defense and the designated play caller. He was a rookie when the Rams won the Super Bowl in 2022. He was also expected to be one of the team's top defenders after the retirement of defensive tackle Aaron Donald. So Rams coach Sean McVay talked about the trade and how the defense will look without Jones.
Did you have a conversation with him before the trade?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And there was multiple conversations. He couldn't have been more of a pro, Sarah, like I mentioned to you guys yesterday. And, feel really good about the 5 inside backers that we do have on our team.
And do you have a plan for who's going to wear the green dot?
We're working through that kind of stuff. There's multiple candidates. You sound like me right now with your raspy voice, but it is. We've got a lot of guys that are candidates that are great, communicators from the front to the back, and so there's a couple of guys, but we will get into the specifics of that over the next couple of days.
So I think the biggest news here is that the Rams decided to trade Ernest Jones, who's one of their best defensive players. So, Tim, what led to the Rams' decision to trade Ernest Jones?
Right. So yeah, this kind of came out of nowhere. As the training camp was coming to a close and all the practices, all the preseason games were getting wrapped up. Ernest Jones didn't demand a trade, didn't ask for a trade, but he was looking for a new contract, and he's in the last year of his contract with the Rams, and the team told him and his agent that they gave him permission to seek a trade. Basically, they weren't going to give him a huge new contract. I don't even know if they were going to give him a new deal. I don't know how far those talks came, but they were okay with letting him walk away. And so the defense doesn't look like it's, I won't say that it's important to the Rams, but they're putting their attention into their offense and into their skill positions on offense. And to be honest, they had draft pick, first round, second round draft picks for the first time in a few years, and they focused on defense. So it's not like they don't have players on defense to fill in for Ernest Jones. They're just young, and they have a lot of young players and a lot of rookie players who are expected to carry this defense this year.
All right, so let's talk about the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers in Major League Baseball, switching sports now. So the Dodgers started a 9-game homestand by sweeping the Seattle Mariners and winning 2 of 3 games against the Tampa Rays. So Shohei Ohtani joined the 40-40 club, hitting 40 home runs and stealing 40 bases in the same season. In the first game against the Rays, he hit a grand slam to break a 3-3 tie and give Dodgers a 7-3 win. It was his 40th home run of the season. He is only the 5th player in Major League history to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases in the same season. So no player has hit 45 home runs and stolen 40 bases in the same season. It might be a little too soon to talk about hitting 50 home runs and stealing 50 bases, but still, Ohtani is the first Dodger to be in the 40-40 club. The Dodgers finish their homestand against the Baltimore Orioles before heading on the road for a 4-game weekend series in Arizona against the surging Diamondbacks. So the Dodgers are 78-53 after 131 games and have a 3-game lead over the Diamondbacks with 31 games left to play in the regular season. All right, so Tim, let's talk about this 40-40 club. So how significant is Shohei Ohtani's achievement of joining the 40-40 club, and what does it say about his versatility and skill level?
Yeah, there's only been a handful of players to be in the 40-40 club. I remember when Shohei Canseco was the first player to do it back in 1988, and I'm almost positive he did it on the last day of the season. I think he stole his 40th base on the last day of the season. And one of I don't even think he knew how important it was, how impressive it was to be the first person in that club. But it's impressive. It shows a player has that rare combination of power and speed. Most of your base stealers are little fast guys, and most of your power hitters are this huge, strong, usually the biggest player on your team. So they're not usually the fastest player on the team too. So it's impressive in a lot of different ways. It's impressive because it hasn't been done that often. And it's impressive because no Dodger has ever done it before. And there's been plenty of Dodgers who have had the potential to get there, but no one's ever done it. So it's impressive on 2 levels. Impressive that, there's still less than 10 players in Major League Baseball history who's ever done this. And there's been no Dodger player has ever done this before.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about the pitching staff for the Dodgers. They've had a lot of issues, a lot of people rotating in and out people getting injured, and they made some trades. We talked about Kershaw coming back. So has the Dodgers pitching staff been a key contributor to their recent success, and which pitchers have stepped up?
Well, I think one of the pitchers who has stepped up is Jack Flaherty, and he has plugged a hole in this rotation that the Dodgers desperately needed. He's been not the best arm in the rotation, but he's been a reliable arm, and the Dodgers haven't had that. The Dodgers haven't had many reliable starters throughout the season. They've all gotten hurt. So he's been the one pitcher, the one player that I see that has given the rotation a little stability. And like I said, he's not the best pitcher on the staff. He's not going to be the best pitcher on the staff, but he's going to be the pitcher that the Dodgers can count on to start and give the team a decent outing and give the team a chance to win every game that he starts.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you about the World Series, because I think, we're at the end of August, beginning of September, so it's right around the corner in October. So do you believe that the Dodgers are a legitimate World Series contender, and what needs to happen for them to reach that level?
Right. So the Dodgers got a boost in August when Mookie Betts came back from injury, when Max Muncy came back from injury, and you put those players in the lineup, and the team is different, and it shows. The team is a better offensive team. The team can score runs in bunches, and they're a hard team to beat when it's Muncy and Mookie and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez, who's kind of been a surprise as one of the top hitters on the team this year too. So the hitting is back. The hitting is a World Series type lineup. Now, as far as the pitching goes, it needs some work. If this team is going to make any decent run in the World Series, a decent run through the playoffs, the pitching needs to get better. And luckily for the Dodgers, that may happen. They have two pitchers who are still hurt, who were important in the rotation at the start of the season. And one of them is Tyler Glasnow, our hard high graduate, who was one of the best pitchers in the National League in the first half of the season. He's been fighting elbow injury, and it looks like he's going to be back with the team before the playoffs start. But there's questions now about how effective he's going to be and how quickly he can return to the form he had at the start of the season. But the other pitcher who is looking like he's on his way back to the rotation as well is Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
All right. So hopefully, I'm rooting for the Dodgers to make it to the World Series and win the World Series this time. But that's our show. So tune in next week for more discussions about the news from Santa Clarita. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM at 9 on Saturday mornings. You can also watch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and listen to us on SantaClaritaStar.com, wherever you listen to podcasts. So leave us a comment and be sure to subscribe to Santa Clarita Weekly Online. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Santa Clarita Weekly. You can watch the show on Santa Clarita Star's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listen in on the radio at KQRU 107.9. Visit SantaClaritaStar.com for more content and tune in right here to KQRU 107.9. A new voice for Santa Clarita.